So I feel like lately a lot of the tougher conversations that we've been having is with dancers coming to us and expressing that they might be falling behind with whatever they have coming up, especially if they are dealing with an injury or some kind of a setback to where they can't participate at their fullest or an audition or a performance. That is a conversation that we're often having to have.
Once again, as mentioned, we're trying to think about, where you want to be, where you are, and why are we thinking the way that we're thinking about it, which in this case with a lot of the younger dancers and pre-professionals is that they feel like they're falling behind, or they feel like that their injury is going to set them back and that they're going to be less successful because of that, because of perhaps very specific missed opportunities within a specific time frame. And by that I mean specific competition coming up, right? Or as you mentioned, specific audition coming up, or perhaps a performance or an opportunity that is, sometimes might be hard to come by, or maybe it's a performance that will happen for many years to come, aka Nutcrackers, right?
Always.
On the physical side of things, I think it's important for dancers to know that there is healing for your physical self, which there are healing timelines, generally speaking, of, depending if you have like a muscle strain, or if it's more of a tendonitis, or if it's, knock on wood, a stress fracture, there are different timelines for that. And being able to help them map out what this actually means for them. So sometimes at an evaluation, you're looking at, okay, you're here right now. Actually, we can talk about this in reference to with summer intensive auditions that are happening in January, right?
Yeah.
And so I think when they express that idea of like, oh, I feel like I'm falling behind, being able to give them that long view perhaps provides a little bit more clarity in terms of a plan that we have in our heads that we want them to be part of, and then for them to be able to see what long-term looks like. Sometimes there are these opportunities that come up that may be more rare if it is an opportunity to say like work with a choreographer or audition for a job. My thought is always going to go to what are you doing for yourself now that is going to help you later down the line, right? What are the lessons that you're taking the time to absorb now that future you is going to thank you for? Then ultimately, what does falling behind mean to you, right? If falling behind to us means that, oh, I just can't do this one thing, can we bring ourselves out of like a myopic point of view and then see the grand scheme of things, which I mean is so hard.
Yeah,
right?
no, absolutely, yeah.
I think and especially as a young dancer, because they, depending on where they are in life, I think about if I'm seeing someone from high school, right? They can maybe see up until the end of high school, but they don't really know what's coming after that.
Yeah,
or if they're in college, they might have a better idea of what's happening after college, but like, it'll always shift and change.
I think, as dancers too, we're always just thinking about the next immediate thing. So sometimes it's hard to zoom out and see like the bigger picture and what are you ultimately like hoping to achieve and train for. We pose the question to dancers of like, where do you want to take dance in the future? Not just like for the next thing that you have, but going forth.
And it's not this. I think it's not to say that we ignore the immediate, right? It's like yes, we'll try everything in our power and our ability and within reason to get them to do the thing. But it's also like going back to our summer intensive conversation, right? Where if somebody is dealing with an injury for let's say several months, and we see them before an audition or before an intensive, and the expectation is that there is some kind of positive result that is going to come out of it, like sure, we can probably get the ball rolling in most cases, and in some cases, yes, maybe it's just a very simple intervention that could change things pretty quick. But sometimes, if you are here with a tendonitis, and once again, it's one of those things where it took time to get here, it takes time to get out because you need the body to adapt. To counter that thought of like, oh, I feel like I'm falling behind, it's more about thinking, how are you using this time when your body is literally asking you to slow down and listen to it, right? If you don't make time for wellness, then your body will force you to make time with illness,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
I love my quotes.
Yeah, I like that too. Yeah.
So I think it's being able to say, hey, this is like your body is saying something.
Right.
Are you going to choose to listen to it? And are you going to choose to listen to it so your future self will benefit from this moment, right?
Yep. Yep.
And I think for me, you know, there is the part of our work that is like I love when we can solve a problem quick and we can get someone back up, which is, you know, it happens. But I think the other part of this is, you know, 3, 4, 5 years later, somebody comes back and they're like, that thing you said that we were doing, I still do that. That's part of my routine. That's part of my practice. And because that has become part of my practice, I've been able to advocate for myself, or I've been able to create certain conditions and environments to where like I need the thing I need to do, and ultimately that has allowed for prolonging of my career, or that has allowed me to further extend into my career. And so, you know, I think in the moment sometimes it's hard to have them not feel like they're being left behind, especially if everybody is like, you know, doing their thing. But these are the lessons that we're always like trying to instill.
Yeah, I love that. And it does really give such an opportunity for reflection of, okay, maybe certain things were working for a certain amount of time, but now that the body is responding in some way, let's go back and kind of like assess what may have not been working and what sort of things can serve you better in the future. And a lot of the times with dancers, it's this like all or nothing thinking, right? Like the black and white thinking where, okay, I'm injured, so I have to like stay off of things completely, rather than, okay, I'm injured, so this is an opportunity for me to understand how I can relate to my body differently, what sorts of things I can implement for myself, again, just to build longevity.
And this is just perhaps from my own observations of our dance community here for the last, you know, 6, 7, 10 years, which is, I think, I look back to 4 years ago and I think about COVID and how, you know, the world just came to a standstill, everyone just like stopped. And I think that there is still this, whether it's like conscious or subconscious, I think there's still this lingering idea of like, oh, because I missed out on a huge chunk of training, or because of that experience that I had no control over, I lost certain types of opportunities. I may not have gotten the type of training I was expecting to. Therefore, it is not implausible, I think, to say that some dancers, especially those right now within the later high school ages, are feeling like they're still having to catch up, right? That scarcity mindset where, because I missed out, I feel like I need to keep going, because if I don't keep going, I'm going to be left behind.
Right, yes.
I think we're also coming, you know, 4 years after COVID. I think from a cultural standpoint and a social standpoint, it's that.
I feel like dancers are operating and existing in so many different environments at once. Whereas before it was like, okay, this is the place that I go to for dance. Like, this is my studio. This is where I spend most of my time. Now there are just so many opportunities outside of just that one place that exists. You know, like different instructors and choreographers, and, you know, they want to invest the time in developing all of those relationships. So there's definitely that like pressure to continue doing more and continue being in all places at once. But we know that that is a very difficult thing. And like you said, if we don't give our bodies the time to rest, they will decide when that is for us at a less convenient time, probably.